Here is the breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. The Israeli Defense Forces IDF carried out multiple airstrikes targeting Syria's military headquarters, the Defense Ministry and zones near the presidential palace in Damascus. These strikes reportedly killed at least 3 people and injured around 34 according to the Syrian sources and some other Middle East-based news agencies. Israel justified the attack as protection for the Druze minority in southern Syria, reacting to the collapse of ceasefire and significant violence in Sweden. My question to our Honorable International Affairs commentator Shamsul Alam Pantho, ceasefire activities is going on in Middle East. Why this sudden attack to Syria?
Well, thank you, Mr. Kanchan, for your question. Syria just had ousted its ex-leader Assad, who left Syria as well, and the current leader is Ahmed al-Shara. However, the Israeli counterpart says that the strikes were meant to protect the Druze minority. So there is a minority group, Druze Bedouin areas as well. So there's a minority group in Syria that Israel wants to protect. In contrast to what I just said, if you look at the state of Palestine, or now known as Israel and Palestine, Palestinians have become a minority in Gaza, which no one is actually coming forward to protect. However, the news says that the Central Defense Ministry was attacked in Damascus. So this is a provocative act conducted by the Israeli side. Of course, they should have pursued diplomacy and languages of diplomacy in order to protect such a minority in a foreign country like Syria. But before I say, another freedom flotilla had set sail to Gaza in an attempt to remove the naval blockade, the maritime blockade of Gaza, and the death toll, another 100 people were killed in Gaza in the last 24 hours.
So Israel has taken a policy to continue its genocide to neighboring countries. Mr. Norman, are you there? We want to hear from Washington. What is the views of Washington? Israel suddenly attacked on Syria, neighboring country. They have attacked on military headquarters. They have attacked on defense ministry. They have attacked on zones in presidential palace in Damascus. What is the reason behind this sudden attack from IDF?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Here in Washington, I'm amazed. I'm astonished. I'm wondering what, excuse my French, English, what the hell is going on? Israel unprovoked attack on that region is something that we cannot condone. The information we're hearing from the Pentagon is that it was a misunderstanding. How can it be a misunderstanding? What are we doing? My analysis is that when you give someone a hammer, and a hammer is the only thing they have, everything looks like a nail. So it appears to be this situation right now. We supply them with weapons, we supply Israel with weapons, and all they know is one thing: attack, attack, attack. Everything that looks challenging them, it looks like a nail. So whether you do all you have is a hammer, you don't use diplomacy. You don't have diplomacy because the only thing you have is a hammer. So what we're seeing right now is a desperate attempt by Israel to position themselves. Basically, they're in the survival mode. They are now the enemy of the region. They're just an enemy. And so we have to bring them back to the table and sit them down and tell them that this is not the way to go.
So
this is not the way to go.
Yes, Mr. Norman, I have just received some other developments from Israel and Syria. Intense fighting erupted between Druze militants, Bedouin tribes, as our commentator is saying, and Syrian government forces in Sweden, with 250 to 300 casualties. and ceasefire agreement was re-established on July 15. I mean, day before yesterday, but violence has persisted amid fragmented Druze leadership. The Guardian has break this news, and Syrian interim President Ahmed al-Shara stated on July 17, I mean today, his priority is to protect Druze citizens and reject foreign intervention. Sir, President says he doesn't want any foreign intervention. On the other side, Israel's defense minister Kurz warned Damascus for future painful blows unless Syrian forces withdraw from Sueda. Syrian forces are in Sueda. What's the problem with Israel, sir?
Israel has a habit of attacking foreign lands, sovereign lands. We've seen that in the Israel-Iran escalation. You know, both of the countries are quite so far away from each other. However, in this context, this sudden attack, even yesterday we've seen a state television broadcast was going on in Syria, and that attack happened and it disrupted the broadcast. A similar notion we've seen in the Iran-Israel escalation
Yes.
as well. So, as far as what Norman was saying, that Israel is becoming the enemy of the region, it's quite so real that other nations apart from Syria will definitely now think about any kind of escalation that can come from Israeli aggression. Of course, they have not targeted any other countries. It remains that Israel is trying to protect a minority group. So in the coming days, we shall see how the current Syrian government, Mr. Shara, will handle the matter.
Right, sir. We have a distinguished guest at our studio, Mr. Topun Kanti Sarkar. He is a very respected person in the banking sector, and CTO is the founder president of CTO Forum in Bangladesh. Welcome, sir, to the studio for International Affairs show in SATV. I just want to look at Washington, because with President Trump's renewed focus in foreign policy and aggressive tariff measures, how might this reshape US global leadership and domestic economic stability? Because many of its countries, ally countries, are protesting for high percentage of tariffs to enter their products into the United States market. Why President Trump is suddenly increasing tariffs on the countries?
Thank you. Actually, if you look at Trump, the focus is after winning the election, his major focus on to increase revenue of the American government, and his America First policy is the main problem is that he would like to create a billion and trillion dollar fund from these taxes. He is doing it all the countries. He is doing it with his close neighbor, Canada, Mexico, and all the countries, even with the European countries, he is doing the same thing and negotiating with the many items. So what is the main impact, what it will come to, actually American people will suffer. Probably I have seen that they are now putting more taxes on pharmaceutical thing, medicine and others. It's close to 200%. And if it is so, all the American pharmaceutical company like Lilly and all big pharmaceutical, they are also very, very alert about it, and they are also bargaining with Trump government that if you impose 200%, that will come to the cost of the product. So I think this is one of his strategy. He is doing it all the countries. Even the EU Union is also afraid of his thing, and he is keep putting a pressure so that if it is 200%, ultimately he will come to 100%. But he is negotiating, and it is one of his bargaining power. What we would like to use with the underdeveloped countries, European countries, every country. He is not giving excuse to any country who was his long time ally, like Mexico, Canada, Europe, Britain, all the countries he is imposing that, except the United Kingdom. UK, they are being privileged country. And if you see around the Asia and other globe, they are also using that weapons, to control those countries.
I understand. I want to come to Mr. Norman. What are the implications of the slow progress on the $95 billion foreign aid packages in Congress? Does this reflect a deeper partisan divide on US international commitments to help the countries?
Yes, again, Good morning from Washington. This new bill will it creates an opportunity for China. I'm going to put it like this: by us taking away the funds for development, help, assistance, humanitarian efforts, and other things that we do overseas, China is sitting back and just waiting and say, well, there's a gap. So where the U.S. leaves, we will fill. They will come in and they will fill the gaps, and that will create another tension between us and China. So the economic war goes on. So as we increase tariffs, there were some countries that will strike a deal. Some countries will not be able to fulfill it. So here we go. We're going to have to do a workaround. So if I can't get it, and I can't get it from work with the United States, I'm going to have to work with someone else. So we're looking at a very dynamic situation for the next couple of years, maybe a decade or so, on positioning itself. So at the same time that we have a America First policy, the world is looking at other options now.
All right, Mr. Norman, I have a very complicated question for you, sir. As you are our international affairs commentator, I will expect a very logical answer from you. We see in one side President Trump is imposing tariffs. On the other side, we see he is selling arms to the countries just like a salesman. On the other side, we see that he has stopped aids. I mean, this $95 billion foreign aid packages in Congress is literally paused. Sir, how do you see? Is it the way he is making America great again?
Thank you, Mr. Kanchan. Of course, as per your statement, they are on, Senate is launching a vote-a-rama on the rescission bill. They're rescinding approximately $9 billion in public broadcast and foreign aid funding. As Norman was saying, where the Americans pull back, the Chinese fulfill. Immediately when I heard that statement, I took to notice in the face of natural calamities, one such event in the last 5 years would be the coronavirus, novel coronavirus. Now, during that time, vaccines became important, masks became important, doctoral experience became important, and it was more on the side of Asian giant like China for them to produce such vaccines, produce masks for the general people. So obviously what Norman said earlier, where the US leaves, China shall fulfill, is quite so true. However, I want to get your attention to something that is quite so important for the American legislation as well. Donald Trump is considering firing a Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell. However, in his first presidency, he was the one who appointed Jerome Powell, and even Donald Trump thought 2017, and even Donald Trump thought that Joe Biden would have had him removed as the Federal Chair. Of course, the person Jerome Powell definitely has done some good work in his time in his position that even Joe Biden, someone who is Democrat leader, also kept him in chair. However, given this position, major groups such as Citigroup, Goldman Sachs and Bank of America have publicly defended the Federal's independence, warning that political interference could undermine US markets' credibility.
So it is a breakthrough because Donald Trump appointed this gentleman, but Joe Biden did not remove him. Now again Donald Trump in his 2.0, he is trying to remove him, where other people is protesting for that. I want to go to Mr. Tapon Kanti Sarkar. You know, President Donald Trump hosted Gulf leaders at the White House, including Bahrain's Crown Prince and Qatar's Prime Minister, to boost diplomatic and investment ties amid growing Middle East tensions. And critics are saying this is a big meeting to get orders to sell the arms in Middle East in the name of securing Middle East, but Israel is still attacking.
Thank you. Actually, if you look at Trump policy, what he has done before going to Saudi Arabia, he has ensured that you will have to confirm $200 billion of arms agreement. So the country he is visiting, before that he is ensuring that after his visit, a good amount of billion-dollar contract signed on that trip. He is also doing it for all the Saudi Arabian countries, that he except America, there is no one to save them. So if you want to, we will give you all the security, buy arms, buy army from us, we will protect you. So this is his policy. He will always concentrate on those areas, because all the monies now belongs to the Gulf countries. So Emirates and other countries, they have partnership with America. So what he is trying to do is putting a pressure on them. Now actually you see, if you look around the war, is Iran, Syria and all the Israel neighboring country, but he is not attacking countries, Saudi Arabia and other part of the who are his allied country. So what he is trying to ensure that come with me, if you if you sign agreement with us, treaty with us, then we will protect you from Israel. So that is, I think this is his policy, and Israel is also playing that role very, as America is.
I think
acting.
Mr. Norman from Washington will have some insightful thoughts from his side. Mr. Norman, a sweeping 95.3 billion foreign aid and packages including Ukraine, Israel and Indo-Pacific move slowly through Congress with Senate backing but facing House uncertainty. My question is this a clear sign of division among the federal establishment? I mean the leadership under Donald Trump, among the politicians?
Yes, this is another example of the lack of communications, no clear policy regarding Israel. Again, Israel, as I call it, the hammer, lacks diplomatic credibility in the region. It's starting to expand globally now because they have a attack first policy that is in effect. And it's very difficult people to trust them and want to do business. Yes, we have met with the leaders of the Middle East talking about how we can protect them, but the hammer is still seeking nails, and everything looks like a nail they are attacking. So until we get this Israeli aggression controlled, I see little chance of anything progressing in the region.
Mr. Norman, stay with us. I want to look at Middle East. As Gaza's humanitarian crisis deepens, what role should international actors like the EU or UN play in ensuring aid reaches civilians? Because the world have been witnessed that Israel is bombing on the aid distribution centers. Israel is bombing on the hospitals, schools, killing innocent women, children. Then what kind of role UN or EU can play to stop this kind of brutal attacks on the civilian?
Well, majority of the attacks that are happening in the Gaza Strip, various places, as you said, innocent women and children are attacked on a daily basis. The casualties are piling up every hour. If I have to be specific, even 2-3 weeks ago it was at a 54,000 limit. Now it has crossed the threshold of 58,000. And in addition, you said, what can the UN and the EU do? It wouldn't be the term sanctioning Israel would sound very off to Western media. I would say that global powers like the EU and the UN, they should actually look where, in order to stop this escalation in Gaza, how can we sit, or if not in diplomatical table, in order to address Israeli aggression? If that fails, if diplomacy initially fails, right now Qatar is engaging itself with Egypt as well to understand how can a resolution be arrived at. And of course, mediation definitely will take some time before such an attack can fend off. But it's very heartbreaking to hear and to see almost every single day we hear about innocent Gazans who are trying to get aid distribution. But however, while doing so, there are stampedes, there are unknown deaths. This is internally displacing hundreds of thousands of Palestinians. in what we likely know as the greatest humanitarian disaster ever seen. One can say that Adolf Hitler took action against the Jews in Auschwitz, in the gas chambers, which was almost nearly 100 years ago in 1945, in the brink of the World War II. Well, a similar notion is now very active today, except that the roles of people have changed, except now the tortured ones are the Palestinians. And of course, even the IDF soldiers, even yesterday I said they are facing some kind of emotional stress in where after the war on innocent children, women in Gaza, they are sorting or looking forward or arriving at attempting to take their own lives in a suicide. So it only shows how gruesome this attack is and how unneeded, unwarranted this attack has become.
Right. I need to do a counter question to Mr. Norman, as he is very near to American establishment, federal establishment. Mr. Norman, would you please let us know, Israel is opening front after front for fighting with Arab countries like Iran, like Syria, like Iraq, like Hamas, like Houthi, like Hezbollah. Lebanon as well. Israel has bombed on Lebanon. Do you think a small country like Israel, without the direct cooperation, direct support of United States, will really sustain for a long time if United States withdraw its support to Israel?
Yes, my response to that is no. There's no way possible that they can sustain a ongoing, year-long, generational assault on the region. They do not have the resources. They do not have the mindset. So it's an attack first before they attacked us, meaning they want to get the first strike, because the second strike, they're not going to be around. It's something without the sustainable support from the United States they can't do. So what we're seeing is they're acting out. They're trying to get everything done while they can, because there's no future in this type of policy. None.
Very, very articulated response from Norman Flatt Barnes, former ambassador and peace negotiator. Please stay on the line. I want to ask a question to our honorable guest in the studio, Mr. Tapan Kanti Sarkar. With President Trump's threatening secondary sanctions and increased tariffs on Russia's trade partners, United States clearly mentioned three names, Brazil, China and India. How sustainable is this approach to ending this war? Because without the cooperation, trade cooperation from China, it is impossible to run the world right this moment. Russia is a big player in the European countries. Brazil is a big economy, and India also has some influence on the world's economy. Do you think Trump's this policy is going to be bounced back?
Actually, every action has its own reaction. So what Trump is playing now, if you look around European Union, China, Australia, India, everybody is protesting this thing. So what I am seeing, what Trump is trying to say, forcing the other countries to obey and signing agreement with him that you buy from America, we will buy from you. That is his underground policy. He is pushing everyone to buy arms from US, we will give you the discount. You see, about China, what he has done, he has imposed lot of duties and 200-300% on China. What China has done, they have increased the price of all AI and all processor and all computer items. So they are now creating other side pressure to America, because they are not supplying chips to America, they are not supplying AI equipments to America, and many other companies of AMD and many other American IT companies, they are now suffering a lot. So rather, another reaction is coming from his own country, own businessmen, because it is actually win-win game for everyone. You cannot do anything alone. So if you have to win this game, it will be win-win for all. he can put 200%. So what will happen? They will not buy from America, they will go to other source. So what Trump policy I have seen, he is putting you a pressure, okay, I will reduce the target if you buy arms and other amenities from our country. So that will reduce the trade gap. So this is one of his, I think, strategy for building his billion and trillion dollar reserve.
Mr. Sarkar, as a United States president, most of the people consider him as the #1 world leader who can manipulate, who can influence, who can redirect any situation around the world. This time, do you find Donald Trump himself as a leader or as a businessman or as a boss?
It is very difficult to predict or comment anything on Trump, because what he is saying in the morning, he is changing his face on the evening. So you cannot comment with him, but he wants to prove that America first, whole world will have to hear him. He has given pressure to Putin that if I will stop the Ukraine and Russia war immediately. But he was not successful there.
Thank you.
So
Thank you,
he is
Mr.
also putting pressure on other countries. He is taking the advantage that I am the world leader, you will have to. And another thing what I believe is that he is looking for one Nobel Prize on peace, that he is trying to creating war, and he is solving and he is doing ceasefire for all the things.
Right. If the Nobel Committee selects Donald Trump for a Nobel Prize, we will definitely congratulate him from our show. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to go for a break. We'll be right back.
দেখবেন 19 জুলাই রাত 11টায়। গ্র্যান্ড প্যালেস হোটেল ঢাকা নিবেদিত গহীনের গান। গান পরিবেশন করবেন মুক্তা সরকার ও সাগর বাউল। দেখবেন 19 জুলাই রাত 11টায়। গ্র্যান্ড প্যালেস হোটেল ঢাকা নিবেদিত গহীনের গান। গান পরিবেশন করবেন মুক্তা সরকার ও সাগর বাউল। দেখবেন 19 জুলাই রাত 11টায়। গ্র্যান্ড প্যালেস হোটেল ঢাকা নিবেদিত গহীনের গান। গান পরিবেশন করবেন মুক্তা সরকার ও সাগর বাউল। দেখবেন 19 জুলাই রাত 11টায়। গ্র্যান্ড প্যালেস হোটেল ঢাকা নিবেদিত গহীনের গান। গান পরিবেশন করবেন মুক্তা সরকার ও সাগর বাউল। দেখবেন 19 জুলাই রাত 11টায়। গ্র্যান্ড প্যালেস হোটেল ঢাকা নিবেদিত গহীনের গান। গান পরিবেশন করবেন মুক্তা সরকার ও সাগর বাউল। দেখবেন 19 জুলাই রাত 11টায়। গ্র্যান্ড প্যালেস হোটেল ঢাকা নিবেদিত গহীনের গান। গান পরিবেশন করবেন মুক্তা সরকার ও সাগর বাউল। দেখবেন 19 জুলাই রাত 11টায়। গ্র্যান্ড প্যালেস হোটেল ঢাকা নিবেদিত গহীনের গান। গান পরিবেশন করবেন মুক্তা সরকার ও সাগর বাউল। দেখবেন 19 জুলাই রাত 11টায়। গ্র্যান্ড প্যালেস হোটেল ঢাকা নিবেদিত গহীনের গান। গান পরিবেশন করবেন মুক্তা সরকার ও সাগর বাউল। দেখবেন 19 জুলাই রাত 11টায়। গ্র্যান্ড প্যালেস হোটেল ঢাকা নিবেদিত গহীনের গান। গান পরিবেশন করবেন মুক্তা সরকার ও সাগর বাউল। দেখবেন 19 জুলাই রাত 11টায়।
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to SATV's International Affairs live broadcasting from SATV's studio. First, I want to connect with Mr. Norman Floyd Barnes from Washington because I have a good question for him. Mr. Norman, you know, Trump has issued a 50 days ultimatum to Russia. Particularly, he mentioned the name of the Russian President Vladimir Putin, and tying a war end to potential 100% secondary tariffs on Moscow's trading partners China, Brazil, India. Simultaneously, the US and NATO are sending Patriot missiles and billions in weapons to Ukraine. He is maintaining all the connections. He is sending arms to the Ukraine. He is organizing NATO's to come forward. He is giving the conditions. How quick he wants to end the war, Mr. Norman?
I see no immediate ending of this conflict, this war. At the same time that we are assisting Ukraine, sanctions on Russia. Russia's strategy is also working. They are doing, believe it or not, a no tariffs, no taxes on goods and services out of Africa. So this demonstrates that there's planning a workaround option. So sanctions will have little effect on Russia. I mean, Russia, once we put the sanctions on Russia's in the past, they went into a wartime budget, which consequently increased their profits 4.1%. So they actually made money by these sanctions being put in place, and they was forced to, they chose another option. I see the similar thing happen. I see where they will keep doing what they're doing. They're just doing a workaround, and basically it is leave United States at itself, doing what it's doing, and we are moving towards a one world order with China and other parts of the world. So they're basically trying to eliminate the need to interact with the United States.
Mr. Norman, I'm totally curious to ask you a question because the world is watching Trump's international affairs activities and comments, remarks with the press. Trump's activities regarding the domestic job creation, domestic violence control, domestic education funding. Would you please let us know, is there any survey on his approval rate in recent times, and what are the impressions of the American people on Trump's 7 months?
So far, we're looking at believe it or not, we're looking at about a 50% approval rate. Yes, a 50% approval rate right now, what's going on. But with Israel stirring up the mix, that is greatly, we got a 50% approval of what he's doing, but how we handling Israel, that's about a 30 to 20% rate. So the people are really not happy how we are managing Israel. His ideas, the administration policies, procedure, even though the tariffs is going to hurt, increased taxes is going to hurt, but they see opportunity approaching. But this issue with Israel is causing a lot of dissension and concern.
Mr. Norman, thank you very, very much. I really appreciate from the management part of SATV for your contribution. We'll again see you on Sunday, sir. Have a good weekend, sir. Thank you. Let us come back to our international affairs commentator, Mr. Shamsul Alam Pantho. Is NATO's expansion weapons supply to Ukraine a deterrent to Russia or to provocation that might escalate the war further? And I have a similar question for you. Can Ukraine realistically expect a negotiated peace, or are we entering a prolonged war of attrition in Eastern Europe, because there is no solution we see yet?
Well, thank you for your question. We must understand the rhetoric between aggressor and the underdog. In this case, the aggressor remains Russia, as they have claimed almost above 25% of Ukrainian territory, effectively making Ukraine the underdog in this fight. However, Ukraine over the last 3 years have been trying to garner support, whether it be diplomatic support, whether it be weaponry support. However, you look at NATO and the 32 nations, they are, the last meeting that they had, they urged the member states to meet the 5% defense spending up until 2035. However, countries such as Spain, who wants to be out of such a escalation or wants to keep the country out of escalation, had only said that we will only be looking at a 2% increase instead of the 5%. Let me just put you in a breaking news. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz is announcing support for Ukraine, and he's also set to meet UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer today. And the meeting shall be looking at how Germany and UK can strengthen their ties once more. And the meeting's agenda will focus more or less on the war on Ukraine. So it comes to show that even in an era where UK is going through a post-Brexit era, they're now rethinking their stance and their friendship with Europe in order to see what kind of counter-reaction Russia can give. Of course, most of the weapons manufacturers in the US are trying to get NATO's stockpiles replenished, and of course, as you mentioned, this may be a very prolonged war as it's already running for the last 3.5 years, and Russia is clearly winning and Ukraine is clearly losing much of its territory on this eastern flank. Not so, even the Crown Prince of Bahrain had stated that the US Patriot missiles that they have, they don't have any plans of sending those into Ukraine as of yet.
So, do you sometimes feel it that Donald Trump is doing so much of activities regarding the war, conflict, tariffs, border issues and some internal division in Congress and Senate? Will it be possible to control all these fronts he is opening in his presidency, or he will do something very strong mistakes?
America has been recently hit by natural disasters. I say this why, even in New York City, we've been seeing massive flooding. The metro station in New York City has been flooded. The 5 boroughs in New York City has been flooded. So this is a natural calamity. And earlier on, we've seen the Texas flood and how the Guatemala, I think, I don't remember the river name, but it was flooded. And much of the lives were lost, above 100 plus or so casualties. So his campaign was initially make America great again, not make the world great again. So it's the American perspective that civilians in America should understand where their leader is at. And of course, the Republicans are now looking forward a much more transparency backed issuance of their daily work. Of course, that is definitely so that people do not lose confidence in Donald Trump. I'll give you another story. There are anti-Trump protests that are going on in all 50 states, including 10 cities in Utah, and thousands are staging what they call a good trouble demonstration to commemorate civil rights icon John Lewis and to protest Trump-era politics. So it is definitely comes to say that majority of the American population do understand that Donald Trump's policies are taking place in war fronts, various war fronts, might I say, and it's not really focusing on the domestic issues that America has. America is a very diversified nation. A huge immigrant population is living in America, whether it be them being born in America or whether they are immigrant who moved in from other places. But what that does is it's not being nourished. The immigrant population in America is what makes America great.
Sir, when I'll be back to you again, I will ask you something about the social media clash between the toppest person of the country, Donald Trump, versus a young leader, Mamdani.
Yes.
I am very curious to know about this development. Sir, I want to come to you, Tapan Kanti Sarkar. You see what is going on in Middle East, several fronts, what is going on in Russia, Ukraine. On the other side of the planet, we see the China is patrolling more in South China Sea, and this morning I was watching news that Japan has blamed China for their patrol, air patrol and also sea patrol near bordering the Japanese. Do you think world is moving ahead, trade war, cyber war, media war, and in the war in the battlefields? What is going to be destabilized?
Actually, all war are in same box. If you think about media war, if you think about social media war, if you think about cyber war, all wars are actually going to one. What is this? What I believe is the Trump policy is to destabilize whole world together. You see, he is pressuring China, Japan, Australia, Philippines, Indonesia, all of the, he is going, there is a cold war going there. Anytime you might see a fresh war there. Now he is concentrating wholly on the Middle East because his first target was to destabilize Gaza and all these countries. Now he is pressuring Kuwait, Bahrain, other countries that you come with me, buy arms, I will protect you. So he will do the same thing to the Chinese other counterpart. Like Japan, they have already given proposal to Japan that buy Patriot and other things. So his main target is to sell the arms, either in Ukraine or European Union. You have seen that NATO chief met Trump on 14th or 15th July. There was a meeting between Trump and NATO chief. He has also given the same proposal to NATO that you invest on defense thing. And he has suggested them to increase 5% budget up to within 2035. So they are now putting pressure to buy Patriot to Ukraine, Patriot to UK, European countries, and also the neighboring countries of China, so that $1 trillion deal comes from there. So all the European countries, now they are going to Trump. That, okay, now save us, because they are saying that the arms what they have and the new arms thing, what America and Russia and China, what they are playing and showing to people is it was unacceptable to all. So
Sir,
far,
I was this morning. I was watching Western medias. They are saying they are predicting another recession, like 2007 is ahead to face. Because of so many reasons and actions taken by the United States. I want to have a short comment from you because we are really running out of time.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
Do you also predict a recession, economic recession around the globe?
Of course. It is going on. You see the prices in the US have already increased. Every commodity. And not only in the US, throughout the globe, that a great recession is going on in our country, all the things, because war impact is not only in war, it will come to everything. That will affect your economy, that will affect everything. You see the global market, share market or gold market, any market, the kind of rise and fall going on, it was unpredictable. So
world is going to be destabilized. As I said that I am curious to know about the digital media clash between the top person of the country, Donald Trump, and the upcoming young leader, Zohran Mamdani. What is the update you have on that?
Well, Donald Trump hails from Washington, D.C., while Zohran Mamdani hails from New York. And he was the winner of the mayoral primary. Both of the leaders have exchanged insults, I would say, and even Donald Trump had questioned Mamdani's legality, even though he's been a naturalized citizen ever since 2018. And as you know, the Immigration and Customs enforcements are in America, ICE, effectively, they are carrying out raids, massive raids, and capturing various illegals, even so, and they're having been deported. Obviously, Mamdani had said that he will do he will work with any kind of federal administration only and if it benefits New Yorkers. So New York finally has a leader who wants to do for the residents of New York, who wants to make sure that daily living in New York is calm, peaceful, and not strained on a basis such as everyone's spending parity. But of course, he will oppose policies, any kind of policy which harms New Yorkers. So New York is finally having a leader which may look towards its own benefit. And of course, Donald Trump had called him a communist lunatic. So it's very far too early to say what happens in the case of Zohran Mamdani, but we'll definitely have an answer ready by the end of this year.
And we will have to wait for that
to
see this fight. Ladies and gentlemen, I really appreciate your patience to be with us in this show, and we'll see again on Sunday. Have a great weekend.